Welcome to another Lone Wolfer Garage Moto Vlog. I am your host, the Lone Wolfer, and today I want to continue with my spooky tales of adventure. I love me a good ghost story, especially during the Halloween season. You know, I love tales of horror and the supernatural, and I have actually gone out of my way to seek out supposedly haunted places. And a few years ago, while I was living out on the West Coast, I took the opportunity to go to a place that some people call the most haunted house in the United States. Specifically, I am talking about the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego. This particular house has been featured on many ghost hunting shows. Yes, I do believe in ghosts. Yes, I do believe that some places are haunted and or hold on to the energy of those who have passed there, but I cannot definitively say that any place is truly haunted, as I have no scientific evidence for this, as that is still being hunted for in our world. But I do believe personally that places are haunted and that there are ghosts. But specifically concerning the Whaley House in San Diego, Thomas Whaley had moved out to California during the gold rush to seek his fortune, as many men had. He had become a lawyer, and then when he made his way to San Diego, he actually moved up the ranks quite quickly and became a local judge. When he was first looking for a place to live, he was present for the hanging of a man known as Yankee Jim Robinson. I'm not entirely sure what Yankee Jim Robinson had done, but most likely it was something to do with horse thievery or possibly murder. Both of those things got you hung back then. And Thomas Whaley was present during the hanging of Yankee Jim Robinson. And afterwards, he purchased the land to build his home. I'm not sure if that was what tipped the scales on him wanting to buy the land, but it may have been. It may have come cheap because it was being used to execute prisoners. But when you first go to the house, it screams of the East Coast. It is built in a design that is quite familiar to anyone who has traveled through specifically New England. It's not straight up colonial, but it's pretty damn close. It definitely stands out in San Diego and with West Coast architecture. But they do offer tours of the Whaley House, and of course when I went to San Diego for a vacation, I made it a point to go and take the tour. First thing that happens when you go on a tour is you're brought into what was the courtroom. So the courthouse was actually inside of the Whaley House, along with the Whaley General Store and the Whaley Theater. And they give a little show and a talk about Thomas Whaley, his family, and the house. So they bring you into the courthouse and they sit you down on these benches, which are quite uncomfortable. And they give a rundown of the different things the building was used for, along with being the home of Thomas Whaley. And they go over a few of the stories of the house. Stupid squirrel. So right at the end of the presentation, the lady up front says, and if you listen very closely, you can hear the shuffling feet of Yankee Jim Robinson, who was hung by his neck on this very property, witnessed by Judge Thomas Whaley himself. And everything goes quiet. And I happen to rip a nice reverberating juicy fart And everyone in the room turned around and looked at me, and I just started dying of laughter. Honestly, the house did not feel or seem chaotic in the supernatural sense to me. I didn't feel any weird, awkward, or odd sensations or energies in the house. And, you know, you may not believe in those things, but I do believe that I am sensitive to those types of energies. And I just didn't get anything from that house. I think everything about it is just a ploy to get people to go visit it and pay the 15 or 20 bucks for the ticket to go take the tour. You know, it's a great ploy. It gets people into the house. It helps keep some of these beautiful old buildings in pristine shape, so people can go see them. Because the other thing about the house that I actually really did like was all of the information about how it was a courthouse and a general store. It was a theater. The information you got of Whaley's life. And then there was one other story specifically about a young child, I don't remember if it was a boy or girl, who supposedly killed themselves on the property as the child was taken in by the Whaley family, or a friend of one of the children of the Whaley family, and spent a lot of time there. But everything I've looked up so far, you know, doesn't lend itself to a child dying on the premises like that. Whaley's daughter actually lived there until she died in the early 1960s, I believe. And then the house was taken over by the city of San Diego and turned into a museum. I do personally recommend that if you like spooky stories and scary tales and you have a chance to actually go there, it is a fun little tour to go through. And Old Town San Diego is just absolutely beautiful. One of the most beautiful, we'll call it relic cities I have been to in the United States. And, you know, I live right now not far from Boston, and it is better than going to Boston. You know, Boston is a pretty city itself, and they have also done a very good job of keeping it up. But San Diego's was just a little bit better, in my opinion. So yeah, that brings us to the end of that spooky yet comical tale of my visit to the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego, and taking an opportune moment of silence to fart on a wooden bench and laugh as it reverberated through the room and everyone turned to look at me. I hope you enjoyed the story, and if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe give me a subscribe. And if you liked this story, hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it, and I would love to hear any spooky tales or spooky adventures you have yourselves down in the comments below. Alright guys, thanks for listening. Rock on. Oh, and I just hit 68,000 fucking miles.